that's not our word. We aren't niggas. Like Dave Chappelle said, he went to Africa. Nobody says nigga. Nobody says nigga. So I mean, maybe now. But my thing is like, I know white people that are niggas. Like, there's some white people. I'm like, I don't fuck with you because you's a nigga. Like, you're a nigga to me. Like, I don't view myself as a nigga. I feel like the word nigga means ignorant. Like, it just means ignorant, not black. Like.
My nose wide as the Red Sea. Lips full, fillers don't feel me. Soon as my cousin killer's on trial, whoa, family gon' pull up sitting courtside.
Welcome to episode 3 of The Kitchen. I'm your host, Kirsten. Today we're going to be talking about activism. I got some friends with me here today that are going to help push the conversation along. We got Sydney, Steven, and Brody. Are you guys ready to get down and dirty in the kitchen?
Yeah, I'm ready to get down and dirty in the kitchen.
I'm not saying that.
All right, so we're talking about activism. So just to kick it off, what is activism? Like, what does that mean to you when someone says it?
When someone says activism, to me, it's someone taking what they have to offer and like contributing that to like push forward like a cause or an agenda that they believe in. I feel like activism takes many forms, but like at the core of it all, it's just using what you have and putting it towards that mission. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
Activism is the vigorous campaigning to bring about political or social change.
Yeah, just make sure you cite that source at the end. Wikipedia does not count.
Brodopedia.
Brodopedia?
Yep.
My only thing with that is that's where it oftentimes gets mixed up as the definition. It's the vigorous part. But like somebody do something small and think it's activism. No, you are helping and it is necessary, but when it's the title of actual activism comes with something large, like, or contiguous.
Okay, so, but cause I feel like that word vigorous can be kind of subjective, right? So then who determines what is vigorous? Like, is it, I guess like maybe the people who you are supposed to be advocating for, will they deem what is rigorous for you? Do you have to sit back and say, oh, this is or is not rigorous? Like, who decides?
Yeah, vigorous has to do with yourself, like something that isn't an ease. Like it has to do with how easy it was for you to do it, what it took out of you, what you had to put in.
So just going out of your way. If you don't go out of, like if it's something that's convenient, then you're not considered. You wouldn't consider.
It's just you're using your energy.
In theory, like you're exerting a certain level of energy to do it, whether the energy is monetary or time or whatever it is. Activism, like you said, it's not just one thing. So, but it's just me sending one mass text to everybody on my phone. I did something, but I mean, if I could press send all, that's not really activism. Like it has more to do with
niggas gotta suffer.
Yeah.
So you have to suffer for the cause.
I wouldn't want to use the word suffer, but it has to take something out of you. Like it has to, like you have to really give exert a level of energy to really be qualified as activism, at least in my opinion.
Okay, so what about, and this might just be semantics, but what about, is there a difference between like having an act? Because I think what you were saying is like if my platform on social media is like what I have to offer, then maybe me just tweeting would be what I considered activism, because that's like, you know, what I can do. But by your kind of methodology, it's like, okay, but you just made a tweet.
Well, no, that is it. The difference is, are you sending one tweet or are you really doing something with it? Okay. You're sending multiple tweets. You're sharing information. Are you just sending one tweet? One tweet, that don't mean nothing. Like anybody could do that, and just at that point, I at some point read something about activism being a trend. At that point, you're just being trendy. You're sending one tweet because everybody's doing it, and that's fine. It's something better than nothing. But that itself isn't activism. That's just you doing what everybody else is doing.
Okay, so I also think too, like the idea of what it means to be an activist, it obviously is dictated by what generation you ask. So obviously for us in an era of the internet, in an era of social media, what we might consider activism, or what we might consider a platform would be different if you asked someone who was like actually on feet, you know, marching and like getting blown away by hoses and things like that. Like older generations might not necessarily feel like we are activists or have a class of activists.
Yeah, like our activism is kind of, I don't know if this may be the word, but saturated, I feel like. If you ask somebody, I don't want to like stir any conversations, but like back in the day, you had Rosa Parks stand up for something that meant a lot for millions of people. And even today, now we have people say, like Meg Thee Stallion, she's kind of the forefront of this protect Black women. Not like the forefront, but she
definitely made it her initiative. Right. Yeah,
exactly. So with how different that is, you'll see her say protect Black women, and then on the other hand have an ass shaking video the next post. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not.
So what are you saying though?
I'm saying is our activism is different because you see one thing, you see a post of activism, and then you see something totally different with Rosa Parks and everybody back in the day. It was always protect me. This, always that. It was like I feel like they were always on that trend.
Well, I feel what he's saying is it's just the people who were activists in that time were just activists.
Yeah.
All they were putting out, not just everyone is more than that. I mean, he's saying that like what they were known for and but in response to you, the biggest difference is in this new age, we have social media, we have many things that didn't exist. To where I'm sure all the activists then had whatever business it was. It was like, yeah, your man is this.
So she's probably posting her clothes on Instagram.
Exactly. But there's no Instagram.
Right.
So it's just the fact that what changed was, in my opinion, isn't activism. It's less of a thing. It just looks different now. To where people can see more of your life. So now instead of just when you're going to these public things where people are seeing Rosa Parks, it's now that Rosa Parks get home, it's like, cool, I gotta get this business. So I keep making money that I can do these things. So it's like...
Yeah, but I think too, to kind of go off your Megan Thee Stallion point, the difference also is, I think, like you said, the social media aspect, but Meg has kind of monetized off of her social platform. So we've seen her take her activism and monetize off of it. Okay. Whereas maybe in prior generations, it's like you said, it's separate. Either like they're an activist and they do this, and people aren't saying like, oh, Rosa Parks is the activist, so I'm going to go buy her clothes. Like,
to be honest, I think most activists, or a lot of activists that we see in general who have nothing else to show but their activism, monetize it.
Yeah.
The only reason why I guess maybe we single out Megan Thee Stallion because that wasn't her first charge.
I'm saying this generation as a whole. Like, I feel like our activism is tied to a monetary.
Yeah.
Whether it's like social currency, actual currency, it's tied to some level of monetary gain. Whereas back then, I don't necessarily feel like it was as closely knit as it is now.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either, but that's just what...
I feel like if they could, though, they would, because to be able to do things, you do need resources. And I don't necessarily think it's a negative to... Sure, if you monetize it, if you're also doing something with it. Because at the end of the day, having more, especially in the world that we live in, having the means to make a change does unfortunately connect with money. To where we don't actually know that back then, say she was a seamstress, to where people were like, Rosa Parks, I'm definitely going to go to her to have. Granted, it's not on such a large level because of lack of social media and stuff like that. But everybody in the neighborhood probably like, I'm definitely going to go to Rosa Parks, have her line this dress up or whatever it was. We just don't know that because things aren't as overt as they are now.
But you also have to, I think there was that book, Between the World and Me, where the author really spoke on the impact of the Black body, right? And I feel like another difference between activism and generations is the aspect of the physical being. Like, I think because we have social media, we don't have to put ourselves physically on the line like they had to. Like, that was like a major turning point in MLK's walk across Selma, was the fact that he wanted people to see on TV what they were physically going through. Whereas now it really takes one video instead of a mass of people.
I feel like one of the reasons why people don't put themselves on the line like they did back then is we don't really have a strong sense of community like we did back then. So if I am going to put my house on the line, I get fired the next day, who's going to make sure I eat for the next couple of weeks? Where am I going to stay? We don't have that. They had that back then.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not putting my house on the line for y'all. I mean, I might, maybe, depending, but I'm definitely going to think about it more now than I might would have back then.
I agree with that. I also think that it's a combination of the two, to where having social media, like, but that people were still putting themselves on the line. Like, when marches were happening, people getting shot in the face with rubber bullets.
Yeah.
And all this wild stuff. It's just, I think because of the fact that there are more outlets now to share awareness, to create more of a following to whatever movement it is, it's not everybody has to do that.
Yeah.
To where people can write, people can post things, people can share amongst themselves, so on and so forth, to where people are still doing that, granted with the hesitation, understanding that like, who's going to take care of me as opposed to them. But it's that's not the only way to do it at this point.
Mm-hmm. So who can call themselves an activist? Can you call yourself an activist, or does someone have to deem you an activist?
I think if you're really an activist, you're not worried if anyone's calling you an activist.
That's a fact.
So then why do we as a millennial culture have this like resurgence or this overwhelming group of, I feel like, self-proclaimed activists?
Because people focus on the wrong things, and they're more focused on the opinion of others and being supported as who they think they are, as opposed to just doing the work.
Right.
Of
for
what,
sure.
in theory, they're saying is what moves them and matters to them.
Right. That, and, clout.
Exactly.
That's what I was about to say, though. Exactly. But if you don't have the clout, like, what can you really do?
Plenty of people don't have clout, but they're starting foundations. They're working with people. They're doing
right. They
all
have
these
different
things.
clout.
Well, honestly, clout. I personally think that the term came more so with like social media as opposed to. But I mean, it always existed. But
yeah, people have to like you.
Yeah, but
they?
Clout is the same thing as rapport. It's just we called it something different when it comes to networking and your interaction with business. It's the same thing. It's just when you use a solid rapport for something. Clout is more so for your own appeasement. Like, it's like if you're chasing it, it's because you want other people to support what you're doing, give yourself validation, as opposed to looking at something and whatever your work being self-edifying.
Okay. So then who would we deem as like our class of activists?
We don't have none. We're not after.
Nah, we do.
What?
It's just, okay. Listen. I don't know if I can deem them, though, because I've seen plenty of videos of people who I don't know, whose Instagrams I can't find, who weren't doing things for video purposes, who are activists. But like we said, it's more so they're not worried about being called activists. No, we have them. People who devote their lives to making change, to things beyond what we're actually seeing. It's just because of the fact that it's really meaningful to them, we don't know who they are because they don't care about the clout.
Does activism have to be like an outward change, or can you be like an activist for yourself?
That's like self-advocacy.
Yeah, like no definition-wise, I think, because I'm pretty sure it has more to do with like
outward.
Yeah, and like a political or institutionalized change or something like that.
Mm. But I guess in theory, though, like if it's something that you care about, you would be an advocate for yourself, like you were saying. You would be advocating for an issue that you feel affects you or you feel strongly about.
Sure.
Which then I guess you could say.
That's a real activist.
Yeah. And I feel like it starts with self anyway. Like just the idea of being an activist and the idea of really having to control like the narrative and really have to influence people and influence what you're now deeming is right versus wrong. Like I think you have to have a certain level of self-awareness or else you can't really be effective anyway.
Sure.
But so you were saying you don't feel like we have them.
Nah, I don't think we do.
Like in no aspects, like even outside of like maybe if you're not just talking about like as a Black culture, like you don't think like as a woman, like
I feel like there are people out there with stature that are making statements and they are doing things to further a cause. But for me, a class of activists is like more of a collective, unified identification. And like, we don't have that.
So like a person and their followers.
Not even a person and their followers, like a group that actually feel like they're being represented. Like we have government representatives, or are they followers? No, but they're pushing forth our agenda, or they're supposed to be. So like, I don't really trust anybody to really be like advocating for me, like as a whole. I feel like there's way too much division. Like we might have, we have like Patrisse Cullors, who was the founder of Black Lives Matter, but she's also very much strong in her identity as a member of the LGBTQ community. Mm-hmm. Then you got niggas like Tariq Nasheed, who are so pro-Black, but they like really don't respect or acknowledge the LGBT community, within the Black community. So that's the vision. Then you got women who are like niggas, whatever. Then that's that. Like there's just way too many. We got the Blacks that are like, I believe in government. I'm in this institution, whatever. I'm in this class and it's about capitalism and money. Then we got the Black people who are like, man, we got out the fucking mud. I'm selling these fucking drugs, but I'm giving back to my community, to the school drive and shit like that. Like it's just way too much division. Young, old, light skin, all that shit. Like it's so much division that there is no unified class of people who are actively and accurately representing everything that affects Black people.
Is that possible?
I'm not saying that it's possible, but we were closer. I feel like in the past, because we were able to figure out, okay, this is not priority right now, or we can come together on this issue and focus on this right now. And the number one rule I feel like back then was we don't fight in front of the white folks. We might have an issue where we don't agree, but we're gonna present this platform as united front and deal with that issue in house. We don't do that anymore, and our shit is fucked up.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
All right, I didn't agree at first, but once you went through, I actually do now agree with some of that. But question. Do you think that it's because we were less different that we're divided then, or just now our differences are more publicized?
I think now we're doing a little bit better, but we don't need each other like that, like we used to. So we can say, fuck them. I don't really believe all that shit, so I can do it on my own and I don't need them.
Well,
so I don't have to.
I agree to a certain degree, but I also, like when she was talking, I was thinking of the latter. I think that it's just back then, like you said, we were kind of forced because we didn't have as many outlets or resources to kind of come together. It's like we all had the common enemy. Until we can make X amount of steps, we have to do this. But now that we have made X amount of steps, I think now other groups within the community are tired of being like, okay, well, like I feel important too, and I want to feel important. Like,
I mean, that's what I said though. That's exactly what I said.
So what I'm saying is, if that is the case, and we're kind of at a point now where our ancestors and previous generations have elevated us to a certain point where we can advocate, like I think the natural process would be for those kind of subgroups to create themselves and try to now do the same thing that was done before.
Yeah, but it's not working. And I don't think it's gonna work.
Well, but those two things aren't mutually exclusive. The success of whatever activist it is doesn't denote whether or not the person is an advocate, an activist. They exist on their own. Sure, they could be doing a shit job, or maybe they're doing a great job, but they don't have the following, or maybe they are doing a shit job, whatever. I personally think that being an activist has to do with what you're doing and why you're doing it, as opposed to whether or not they have a successful or an extremely large following, because no one person can cover every single need and issue that every single person has. It's impossible.
I think that's fair, and that's why you work with other people who know more than you about whatever that subject is, and y'all work together to move forward. But I'm not, I guess I'm just looking at it from a lens, like for me, activism is about Black people in general. I'm not even thinking about nothing else. So when I look at what Black activism looks like right now for different groups in the Black community, it's just shit's not adding up.
Question: those two people that you referenced, do you feel yes or no that they're activists?
Yes,
because that was the question. It was like, do you believe that there are activists that exist?
But when she said class of activists, I'm thinking about people that stand out consistently, that are like successful and like properly.
They have to stand out a little bit.
They stand out, but not for the right reasons.
Fair. That's fair.
I also feel like though, should we like be more kind of understanding of what it means to be a human being and an activist?
Yes.
Because like you were saying, like, you know, there's aspects that they could be really good at, aspects that they could be better at. Or even we have leaders who have had the ability to mobilize large groups, but for whatever reason, I don't know, human nature, our culture as Black people, whatever you want to call it, once they get to that level of stature, now there becomes an agenda to try to take them off of the platform that they have now created. So it's like, fuck the work that they've done. I'm going to discredit that because they didn't do this over here the way I like it. So then their platform as an activist is being muddied by their separate life of being a human being, which back in the day when they didn't have the social media platforms and things like that, those two worlds wouldn't necessarily meet. MLK is not regarded as any less of an activist because he was a cheater.
No one cares about that until now. Back then, they didn't care about it.
Did they know about it?
Yeah, honestly, some people did. But because we live in a world where everyone's so self-righteous that, what is that? Address the plank in your eye or take the plank out of your eye before you address the speck in someone else's. Everyone is always so focused on what someone else is doing, as if in their own personal life, they don't have any dark stories, to where... And it moves past just the activists. When there's a shooting or somebody dies or someone's killed, what does the media do? They bring up the negative things of their past to try and balance out the travesty that happened in their life. To where we then do the same things when someone is doing good. We'll cheer them on, and then the moment they do something bad, it's like, oh, how could you? As if you weren't just doing whatever you was doing last week, or 2 years ago you didn't do this, or 5 years ago you didn't do this.
I don't know.
We belittle the good. Those two things are not the same thing, because at the end of the day, the good that they did stands alone. And it was done with the intent to get the action that it got. What they did, wrong. A wrong is a wrong is a wrong. But who are we to look at that wrong and go, okay, that destroyed all the good that you did? Because it didn't.
Or maybe it even goes back to what you were saying before about the ability to prioritize. So maybe it's we have a lack of that understanding. Like, we have this agenda that needs to be pushed forward right now. So me talking about the aspects of you that I don't like, even though you have the ability to mobilize the community and move the culture forward in a way that is beneficial, like, that's not the priority right now. Once we get what we need to get, then we can circle back like we're doing now and be like, oh yeah, y'all love him, but he did X, Y, and Z at home.
I just think that this is actually situational and circumstantial. Because, like, for me, the way I look at it, like, okay, like MLK, like, yes, he did a lot of great, undeniable. But you were a man of God, a man of the cloth. You were a pastor. You're cheating on your wife. You're already lying on the Bible. You're already lying in the pulpit. Then you're supposed to be what? Did I lie? Did I lie?
I'm sorry. I'm waiting. I'm gonna let you.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, but then
it seems very common of pastors though to cheat on their wives.
That's a whole other thing.
But like, I'm just saying, like, okay, so not only are you getting up in the pulpit talking about my eyes have seen glory, okay, you cheating on your wife. You saying fuck your family, basically.
He saw the glory on Friday.
Well, and you want me to put my trust in you and to guide me towards Jesus. Okay. Then on top of that, you're supposed to be advocating for black people and equality. And then you got your shorty at home with the kids getting bombed up and you fucking some white bitch out Alabama. Like, that shit is crazy to me. I don't think that shit is cool. I think
it's not cool.
It's not cool. And I can say that he did a lot of great work and it made a difference. And that nigga did some shit that was disrespectful to his black fucking wife and his kids. And that shit is unacceptable. Those two things can exist and run right down the same line together.
Okay, exactly. My question, do you judge all sins equal?
I don't think all sins are equal. So okay. No, I don't. And that's cool. I can live with that.
So you feel that he dishonored his role and his point against the Bible and everything, but you can't agree with something that's said in the Bible?
What do you
all sins are deemed equal?
I didn't say I was a Christian that I believe in God. What I said was, if you want to be acting like you are a leader in the church of God and then disobey his word, that makes you look like a fucking liar.
Well, no.
But the thing about
but you're also a liar too, though.
Wow.
You also
makes us human.
And you're a fraud too. You can be a liar, fraud, and human.
Yeah, don't make you a fraud.
You a fraud as a pastor. You a fraud as a man.
We're not talking about him as a pastor.
We're talking about his work.
But I'm saying that. But that's a part. But that's a part of his work.
Okay, if that's a part. If when the time all that happened, somebody stepped forward and said, "Oh, because you did this, this, and this, we have to remove you from the point," and we took him out before the march on, before everything. Where would we be?
Well, my thing is this: Rosa Parks wasn't even the first woman to sit on a bus and refuse to give up her seat. Okay. It was a dark-skinned woman.
Correct.
She was young and she was pregnant. They plucked her ass out and said, "Fuck you. We're not letting you be the face of the movement because you dark, young, and pregnant."
Okay.
So that it happened.
But you just add
the precedent, the issue she just said.
Yeah.
If that instance didn't happen, if those instances, granted, there's other stuff tied to them. If we took out the whole instance, and then regardless of addressing the fact that yes, there was a colorism issue there also. If we took that out by itself, those are major significant happenings
that no longer happen.
Exactly. That sure, there are plenty of wrongs. That's
what I'm saying is they were able to
got some dark in it.
They were able to replace her and recreate her and still carry on with the movement. So if they wanted to be that same way about moral deficiency, I think they could effectively perhaps do that.
That way. You were there.
But I also feel like anything can be.
You proposed a question to me of what happened if they plucked him off because he fucked up. I'm saying they probably could have just breed up like they did on Shorty the old one. So.
You know what? Honestly, that's not a bad answer, but I don't agree only because
it's a possibility. That's all I'm saying.
It's a possibility, but it's like feasibility.
Feasibility, exactly. Like to where the likelihood that they could really do that, because honestly, it's not like Martin woke up one morning and goes, you know what? I'm gonna have this march tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna text all my man.
But he did, though.
And it was not that easy. People had to trust him. People had to hold him, and it took time.
And I'm saying I can't trust no nigga like that.
But at that point, you can't trust nobody, because I want you to know, even the best people you know, granted they have great consciences, have done some shitty shit. Honestly, that's how you grow in your conscience, from having done something and then feeling bad about it and growing from it. There's not one person in this world who you look at that you appreciate and think is great that you celebrate that doesn't have something.
But like I said, like I don't really view like all sin as equal. Okay. So that to me, like that's you're a grown man, you're educated, you were alpha, whatever. So you're supposed to be knowing about your principles.
So his dick should turn off?
What?
We're animals at the end of the day. You're gonna make certain choices.
I'm not saying that your dick should turn off, but divorce Shorty or stop preaching in the pulpit if you can't stick to what you say.
What are your expectations of someone who you would deem an activist?
That's a very broad question. Can you explain to me what type of expectations you want me to speak on?
So, like, in terms of, so in terms of what we've just been talking about, you identified that MLK is a great leader and the work that he did as a leader in the community was great. But you've also that told us that because of his infidelity, because of his position as a pastor and what he did with that role, you don't have the ability to trust him. And so I think what Stephen was hitting on, even where my mind is at right now, I feel like anybody on any given day could be the good guy or the bad guy. They're the good guy and the bad guy simultaneously. Everyone.
Okay, that's what I said.
So then what if that's all people? Then what would deem someone, I guess, worthy enough? I don't know another way to say it, but worthy enough for you to trust them as a leader and as an activist.
I mean, that's not really like, I guess, what the issue is. I'm just saying, like, yeah, he did good shit, but he also fucked up, and I'm still gonna bring that shit up every time. But I mean, for you to be a leader that I can trust, I guess being honest, being transparent. I feel like if you want people to follow you and trust that you're leading them in the right direction, you could at least be honest and transparent about, like, your faults.
That's fair.
But that doesn't exist, though.
That's not true.
It doesn't exist.
No,
but why not? I think it should.
Because when you're a leader and you're put in the forefront, you're responsible of keeping a certain image. That's what you have a PR team for. That's what people have.
But you can have PR and still be honest and transparent.
You're asking for
that's
radical honesty.
Yeah, that doesn't exist.
Radical honesty is literally a point of honesty where I literally say everything I think. Because to keep anything to myself is a lie.
So you saying you can't be truthful with tact?
No. What it means is that every thought I think, where it's like a shorty walk out, damn your ass fat. Like that's.
But that's not what she's saying.
That's what honest and transparency means to you.
What I'm saying is that's the only. You want someone who is going to tell you everything.
That's not what I said.
That's not what she's saying.
No, but
that's not even what I want.
No, she's saying in terms of your faults, which we see it done all the time.
Like if MLK would have been like, yes,
I cheated.
There has been some, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
for what?
In those moments, that's not prioritizing the issue.
Like for what?
Like you said, that's not prioritizing the issue.
Because I think it kind of is, though. It could potentially, for someone like her, give him more validity as a leader.
Or someone who's still currently hurt by it, now completely conflict with you, even though...
That's also true.
It could cause more rift than good in that moment when you already have something...
Just like you said, we handle our problems in our community. If he comes out and says that...
He don't gotta say that shit on NBC. He can say it on BET. The fuck? He can tell us.
If he says anything, it's getting recorded.
No, but the thing about it is you also have to remember the context of what we're talking about. She's talking about as a leader that she can trust. If she's going to trust her leader, what she's saying is if he can be honest about his faults.
I'm trying to think of an example.
But at that point, he'd have to tell everybody in the community, right?
Right.
And if that gets to the opposing side, they're going to use that to try and...
The thing about
here's an example.
Was being watched by the FBI.
Malcolm X.
I knew he was cheating.
Malcolm X did time in jail. Malcolm X has been said to participate in prostitution. I feel like everything that he wrote while he was in jail, like just his entire presence to me was very like forthcoming. Like I didn't feel like he was trying to hide Lil Red. Yeah, that's where I came from. That's what I did. That's how I came up, and that's what it is. And here I am now, type shit. Like, that's honest, transparent, with folk. Human, I trust you.
Okay.
Not perfect, but worthy of me following you. I don't think that's impossible. I don't understand why it's so rare for people to be like that.
Well, my question to you is: do you think that that was easier for him because of the fact that he was noted from the standpoint of
already knew?
Being more of a the antithesis to Martin, where it's like peace.
Martin is this perfect angel.
To where he's speaking peace and like
and he
being
came
calm.
in as the radical.
Peace
No. I know you're feeling right. But the difference between them, do you think that it was easier for Malcolm to do that because of the background he had and what was expected from him?
No, he literally created his image. He could have been like Martin and maybe been like, oh, that's not my pastor, that's not me, or whatever. Like he could have definitely handled it a different way, but his demeanor towards his past and who he is was very authentic to me.
I'm sorry, let me ask a better way. Do you think because of the way the expectation for not violence, but like the extreme, the not the less positive light that he already used and celebrated and talked under made it easier to say, oh, I did all these bad things?
I think so.
And so do you think
it lends itself? His life lends itself to his narrative. But
that's who he is. So if him being transparent, authentic made it easier for him, good. That's what I feel like it should do. That's the whole point.
I'm saying easier than Martin because of that.
But again, these are choices that they made.
But
these are choices that they made.
I'm just asking if you think it made it easier. That's all.
I think it did. Bernie, do you think it did?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, you make it sound like it's a cheat code or something.
It's not. No, it's just a yes or no question.
I want you to know. I feel like if people already expect you to be one thing.
He played the bad boy role.
No. But I'm saying that's
he didn't play the bad boy role. He was being himself, and that's how people accepted it.
I want you to know I get away with saying a lot of really wild things because the expectation is that I don't care, even though I do care. But if you already expecting me to be a certain way, and then I tell you something that adds to that, you're just like, okay.
But that's because you was upfront about who you was.
No, but I think the difference is, like I said, like if you say today, my pastor is cheating in the church, people are going to be like, what? Even though, like, people do that all the time. It's because, like, for whatever reason, in 2020s, people still have this expectation of their religious figures, even though we've seen time and time again that they do X, Y, and Z on the pulpit. But so what he's saying is that Malcolm wasn't coming from that lens. Like, he was coming from this lens of going to jail, of being involved in things that people already found.
Man was a devout Muslim. He didn't even be fucking his wife. Like, I don't understand where y'all getting this bad.
But so,
how you know what exactly he did? You actually, okay, this... Objectively, there's a limit to what we can pretend to know about any other human being, even your best friend.
That's fair.
So you don't know. Honestly,
what do I don't know?
I would rather bet money on, I don't know either, that there are things that you don't know that he has done in his life than things that you do. Like there's no way that you know every single thing he's done. Like literally,
okay, I understand, but like what I'm trying to figure out.
I can't pick anything because I don't know either.
No, like, what are you saying that I don't know?
I'm saying that he lived a human life. Okay. So I guarantee you, because you're saying that like he was upfront. I guarantee there was stuff that he wasn't upfront about.
That's fair, but like
that doesn't make him untruthful.
Exactly. So that would to compare him to the others.
But I don't know about that shit, so I can't worry about that. But what I do know is Shorty over here cheated on his fucking wife. The white bitches left him in the house getting bombed up and was supposed to be a pastor at the same time. That shit is whack to me.
That's whack. For sure, but that doesn't take away anything from it.
Y'all trying to make it seem like I'm supposed to cut him some slack because
we're
saying that just like you said, both things can happen simultaneously. We're saying that how can that not be the same for the activists of today or activists in general?
You know all the wrong shit George Washington did? I promise you these white people is chanting his name forever.
Yeah, they didn't care about that shit. All I'm saying is I'm looking for a Malcolm X, not a Martin. And if you want to know,
so that's what she's looking for.
Fair.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. So
and because of that, you don't feel that they're like real activists because that's fair.
But like Malcolm had to be a Malcolm.
No,
Martin had to be a Martin.
That's balance. It was necessary because honestly, if we take out one of them and only give us the other, that's an issue.
Yeah,
because there's a need for both of those.
Because both are representative of us as a community, and I think that's what I was touching on at the beginning. All of these little microcosms of the movement that have sprung from Black Lives Matter and have sprung from the work that has been done for us in the past are just those microcosms that need to happen. There has to be someone to come and mobilize the LGBT community and within our Black community.
But I mean, that's what I said earlier.
Yeah, because if they're not spoken for, then they won't be spoken for. Right. So I think now it's just like what we were saying before. It's like now we have all of these groups. So I guess the issue is what you're saying is that there's no unifying force amongst all the groups. The groups are just all happening in silos instead of together.
We're not linking up. Something's not in sync.
Well, I feel like, I don't know if this is even on the topic, but I feel like white people allowed like Martin and Malcolm to be who they were because without that control, like the white people could have killed both of them quick and ended that quickly. I feel like so they allowed Martin. I mean, not really. He did a lot. I mean, obviously.
No, I agree with what you're saying though, because I think even the fact
that they allowed a certain amount of things to happen, and then
for sure
they control.
Even the fact that we're sitting here talking about Malcolm being the bad boy, like that was deemed. He was deemed the bad boy by them.
Yeah.
Right.
But so do you feel like white people have as much influence in our activism, our mobilization as like now?
Absolutely, they are the ones they moving it.
But we need them though. Like I feel like we really do need them because in war we have different countries as allies, and without those allies in war, then we won't have the success that we would have because other people have different resources. Other countries have this that we don't have. So if you were to say we just need Black people in this activism movement, then you're wrong. And that would only have worked if segregation never happened, or if we were integration never happened. My fault, I'm geeking. But yeah, y'all get the point. But that would only happen if desegregation and all that. So I feel like we do need other people because we are all so like together now. It wouldn't make sense to individual.
And I agree, but I think that we have a problem with being too fucking nice. Like I feel like anytime anybody does anything that we like remotely think is like close to being black, like now all of a sudden like they fuck with us. It's like, no, they don't. They really don't. Like everybody's not invited to the cookout. Nope. Like everybody should not be at our fucking award shows. I don't know why Justin Bieber and niggas like that are winning our awards. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. Like just because this nigga can like sing in rhythm, like you know what I'm saying? Now he's apparently a part of us.
I'm sorry, I know this is a distraction, but did you watch him dance in that video? That man cannot dance.
Because he's white. I don't care how many tattoos y'all put on that man, how many Migos features or whatever. But he's still a white man with white and a white identity and a white agenda. So I want to know like where's the balance? How can we properly vet these allies? Because then we already have had this like murky conversation about our own leaders, right? And the morality as it relates to our leaders. But now that's like times 10 when we try to vet them for us.
But question, do we have to vet them?
Absolutely. They have to be vetted, yes.
No, as far as like bringing them in, but I mean as far as like letting them do, whether someone does something because it's trendy or does something because they have genuine conviction, they did what they did, right?
I mean, it's still a resource.
So exactly.
True.
So like if this white kid who just or this man is at work or wherever they are and they it's trendy and they want to get and they go to their friends who probably didn't give a fuck about whatever it was before, and then say something that they don't completely mean, but because of high beats mentality, they saying in this moment, and then those 4 kids or 4 adults go and think about it, and now makes changes in their mind. Did it not have a positive effect?
It did, but I think the problem isn't that. It's the problem is that they have a tendency to co-opt the space. Yeah. So it's like they take that one little step, and now that they've gained like a level of momentum, they run with it instead of gaining that momentum and then passing, it to the side.
At that point, that goes back to the clout chasing advocates we talked about. To where like you're not doing it because you care, you do it because of the attention that you're getting.
Yeah.
Well, I think as Black people, I feel like we have to reevaluate what we like deem what was ours. Like I want to say like the word I'll just throw this out, the word nigga, like to me, like that's not our word. We aren't niggas. Like Dave Chappelle said, he went to Africa, nobody says nigga. Nobody says nigga. So I mean, maybe now. But my thing is like, I know white people that are niggas. Like, there's some white people, I'm like, I don't fuck with you because you's a nigga. Like, you're a nigga to me. Like, I don't view myself as a nigga. I feel like the word nigga means ignorant. Like, it just means ignorant, not black. Like, I just feel like it's a word that we, as a group of people, kind of try to deem as ours because, like, I mean, I don't know why the fuck we want that as our thing.
Yeah.
But
I see that.
Well, I feel what you're saying. I feel like more than reevaluating what is ours, I think we need to figure out what actually matters to us. Yeah. I think during the time period of like the protests and so forth, I was most frustrated, aside from what was actually happening, the number of Black people conflicting with other Black people on how they were their form of activism.
Yes.
To where if you're not doing this, you're focusing your energy in the wrong place.
Bro,
if you're not out here doing this, you're focusing your energy on the wrong place. I saw somebody doing this, that's not enough. You're focusing your energy in the wrong place.
Bro, I mean, at the protest, they'd be like, everybody get on one knee right now. I'd be like,
the thing about it, like we were talking about at the beginning, there's so many more different outlets. I personally am a writer.
That's true.
I use my ability to write, and that was my main form of this, to where I'm still but for some people it's like, oh, but you weren't here this day. You're not
because
really,
sometimes niggas be
and I get that.
Sometimes Black people and people be wilding. No, let me tell you, I went to I was at the protest and I went with one of my friends and we're like really, here in the moment. Like, I feel like as a Black person too, when you're protesting, you feel like a level of energy from the crowd and stuff. And she's over here like looking for a lighter to light her blunt. And I'm just like, listen, like, I feel you, but like, no, like, what are you doing?
Okay, I get that would have been me. That's why I didn't go. I get all of that. But imagine, like that level of unity you were talking about that doesn't exist now. Imagine if we were less focused on what somebody else who looks like us isn't doing, and we're more focused on the cause that we're actually out.
Oh, she didn't look like us. That's why I said it.
Okay, I figured. Yeah. I didn't want to make that difference. But I made more focus on that.
But not even that, but just like what can they do? You know what I mean?
That's true.
Oh, you mean people who aren't black? Or the people who are
just in general. What's their what you said before, like their abilities.
Yeah, like what is it that you have to
exactly,
offer?
Like, focus on
there's niggas that don't want to go out in the streets, but they do want to educate themselves. So if you write something, they're gonna read it, and that's gonna change. Maybe they might put some money in it. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's I'm just like
no, and that's exactly what I'm saying, to the point where we were so focused at that time, but it was literally I had to like delete Instagram for like a couple of days and really because it was genuinely like making me sick. To see how many people were now, instead of like when you talking about earlier about like white people or whoever, government wise or whatever, is immersed in it. Think about how hard it is for us to fight for change when we're too busy inwardly fighting ourselves.
Man, niggas talking about you posting the black thread don't mean shit.
Yeah, and it's like the thing about it. Actually, every bit of something can mean something as long as it affects one person.
Right.
Yeah.
So at that point, you now belittling somebody else. That same energy, take that in the direction you're supposed to be fighting for. Because at this point, that does not make sense.
It got these little white girls crying and fighting their parents talking about you're wild for saying this about black people. That's only because of social media.
No, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
granted, a couple of them Jones was definitely fake, but at the end of the day, guess what it did? There was other little white kids tking, damn. I might have to say something. So at that point,
and they turned down.
Exactly. So at that point, I don't
really
give
showed
a shit.
up.
Oh, they're fucking wild. Like we support y'all, but like I don't care as much to take my time to tell you and you, oh, you should, because at that point, that's self-righteous as fuck of me. To assume I know the height of your life and what you can do and what you should be doing from my standpoint. Nigga, I'm seated right next to you. My job right here is to do whatever I can.
Do your part.
Exactly. Yeah. And everybody focus on what everybody else is doing, that's a waste of energy.
It's a waste of energy if it's not something positive, like, collaborative and constructive. Because I feel like we have not really gotten to a place, like, I don't know what, but like we used to have like these national Pan-African conferences where it was like hundreds of niggas in every city like going to speak on one.
Just kidding.
And that's why we're fucked up. And that's why our shit is fucked up. Like we used to really have an agenda. This is what we're going to get done in our cities, in the education, the health department, the police department. This is what we're going to build. This is where we're going to put the money in. Everybody had one agenda. We all discussed it across the country. Everybody's working together in their own departments and doing what they can and what they're good at to move towards these goals that we've all agreed on and defined. And we don't have nothing like that.
It's because because we're so different now. One problem doesn't affect just like one problem in our black community doesn't affect all black people.
But that's an issue. It should affect us all because if I'm eating and my nigga's not eating and I can do something about that, that should bother me. Because we have everything we've done in this country as black people is because we did it for ourselves.
Yeah.
For each other as black people.
They turned us individualistic though, and now we have to learn how to play their game.
But it's unavoidable, and excuse my language. But it's there are a number of reasons why, but one of many. Well, at this point in life, I would suspect, in my personal opinion, that there were less people with this, at least like deeply believing it. But there are a lot of niggas where house nigga mentality.
Absolutely.
To where, and I mean that as I'm not saying, oh, you on top because you do. No, I mean literally like they'll be on their social media talking about all these institutionalized racism is it a real thing? I personally, me and my family don't deal with this. I'm like, oh my God, Brody, please. Like, I'm looking at you. Wait, Brody. No, I'm sorry. Brody. This the real Brody. This is the real. But like niggas, it's like, bro, okay, you're not realizing that you're thinking way too subjectively. You're thinking your personal life. Maybe you were able to code switch to a point that now that's just who you are. Or maybe you were just grown in a place and it happens. But living a life where you believe that you know the right answer infallibly just shows how stuck you are. Because there are very few things that are infallible in this world. And there are very few things that are actual fact and cannot be disproven in one way or another. So to sit here and say, oh, but because I have not seen it, mind you, it could be next to you, but based off your life, you got blinders on, you missed it. It doesn't exist. That doesn't mean anything. It literally just shows where you are, not the whole situation. Right. But there's a lot more of that now. Mm-hmm. Because before, in that time period, when people were doing that, that's because they didn't want to risk the same thing that in those time periods, in slavery time periods, house niggas had. It's like, I don't want to risk the good stuff that I'm getting. Right. It's not that I believe in the person that this man still slapped me in the face if I spit his lemonade. Like, but it's like, I don't want to risk it. Now, there are more people who genuinely believe it.
So, I mean, for me, like, this is just my personal belief. Like, I don't even know if this relates to the conversation, but if that is your mentality, like, as much as I want niggas to be unified and get on one accord and move forward, we cannot take everybody with us. And then the niggas is getting left behind. There's no point in even wasting.
For real.
But there's no point in wasting energy.
We'll just come get y'all when we're
talking about them niggas. Like, dog, if that's how you feel, then you must be good over there, and I'm gonna keep my shit over here. We're gonna keep going forward. Like, I mean,
so we gotta wrap real quick. Right. Brody, I want you to get your final word in.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? What you gotta share?
That's all. That's all.
Okay, so real quick before we wrap it up. I want everyone to shout out their brands if you are wearing Black-owned brands. Once again, we're drinking the McBride Sisters. They're our favorite. Some champs, some mimosas. Get everybody loose. All right.
Not loose.
Yeah, loose.
I drink water only. Usually got my essential on me, but today...
I said your
Bev brought me some Nestle Pure Life and stuff.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing Larry Jones merch, numbers, and the museum. I don't know if you can see this, but
that's the home team.
Yeah, that's the home team. You feel me?
What you got on?
Oh, I got Eric PG County niggas' favorite, the gas station beanie on, and I'm sorry.
Nigga, the gas station.
Y'all are cut off.
These are suit pants, corduroy suit pants from what is it? Elaine Dupin? Something like that.
It's okay. We'll get that. We'll get the socials. Yeah, we'll get the socials.
I googled him earlier to realize it was like it's a black man. I was like, all right, cool, copy.
That's why you was hot in them corduroy pants.
I'm toasting in the mug, but I'm clean.
Right now, I'm wearing Rodney Sawyer. He put this sweatshirt out. I'm on my activist shit today. You can't really see the back. Actually, kind of turn around.
Yeah, show the people the back. Show the people the back.
So on the back it says an eye for an eye. Shout out Malcolm X. Fuck 12. We got the pigs. What must that?
That's the mic. That's the mic. You're going too far.
That's all right.
Okay, I'm going too far.
Look. Just at kr.socials. All the flicks is gonna be there. Y'all know we gonna hook y'all up.
You can't even see it, but don't worry.
Hoodie Camp, and then I'm wearing.
Bev ain't take my pictures.
Yeah. And then I'm wearing Always Working. It's my God Brothers brand based out of Baltimore. Always Working sweatshirt. Hit him up.
She said Baltimore.
Soft good.
That's how you know she's not from there.
You want to say Baltimore?
Baltimore.
No. Yeah. From Baltimore. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. You can always follow us on Instagram, catch our podcast on Apple Music and Spotify, and see you for episode 4.
Free dot.